Hello, hope you have been keeping well. Welcome back to episode 7 of Weekly Bee. Today I'm going to be telling you about an Easter make, how I felt wearing my Lyra dress over the weekend, a new sewing make, and how my knitted sweater is going. Let me start off with this cute Easter basket that I drafted myself. So I had searched YouTube just for a cute little Easter basket for my girls to use for treasure hunts coming up now in the holidays, and I couldn't really find anything that I liked. Something simple, but just with ruffles or some applique, and I couldn't exactly find what I wanted, so I decided to just draft my own. I ended up coming up with this, so an egg applique and some ruffles on the top. I also quite like the idea of the baskets having 2 handles instead of the 1, because I have made baskets with just 1 handle before, and I see that it's sometimes awkward getting their hands in from one side to the other, trying to dig in and search for what they want to. Like this with 2 handles, they can just open it and see straight away inside. So that's something that I wanted for my basket. In the YouTube tutorial for this Easter basket, I have shared the measurements in the description box below, so you can also make one for yourself. In the video, I do tell you how you can add 1 handle or 2 handles. I also go over the egg applique, which is completely drafted by you, so your egg will be unique. There'll be no one else with the exact same size egg as you because you are drafting your own. You can also add 1 egg, 2 eggs, various eggs. I explain to you as well at which point you can do that. Throughout the video, I just give you a few little tips and hints on where you can tweak your project to make it more unique to you. The same goes with the ruffle. So if you'd like a higher ruffle, you just add more width. If you'd like a more ruffled look, you just add more length to the piece of fabric that you have to cut out. So if you would like to make this little basket for yourself, either for Easter or you may have a completely different use for it, I will pop the link in the description box below for you. Next up is my Lyra dress. Now I'm pretty sure I told you last week that I had finished it, but Saturday was the first time that I got to wear it out. I had shortened the waist by about 1/2 inch so that it would sit more on my natural waist, but the weight of the skirt was just pulling that waist seam down, and it kind of sat awkwardly on top of my belly because I still carry a bit of a mom pouch. Now there's nothing wrong with that, it's just I prefer my waist seams not to hit that area of mine and not to highlight it. So I thought I would feel very uncomfortable wearing the dress, but it actually wasn't that bad. The print is just so busy that when it's in movement, you can barely tell. It was just when I was standing looking down at myself is when I could see a bit of the bump, which is why I wasn't feeling too sure about that area. I did add waist ties to help bring in my waist a bit, and instead of tying them a little bit tight like I normally do, I actually left them loose, and it also helped not to highlight that area. The only thing I found was every time that I sat down, there would be a gape. So it would open there by my waist seam. I am so glad that I decided just to wear a little vest underneath, because every time I sat down you could actually see my vest underneath. So that came to save the day. Overall, I am pretty happy with the fit of my Lyra. I made a size 3 at the top, which is 1 size smaller than my measurements. And I also added, I think it was 1/2 inch just to the fold. When I was cutting out the fabric, I added 1/2 inch to the fold on each side just to give me enough room, because I felt that the other one I made was slightly a bit tight. For the skirt, I just simply extended the pattern pieces to where I wanted them to. I added some side slits as well, and they are roughly about 25 centimeters from the hem, but next time I will raise that higher, maybe just to above the knee, just so that they are more visible, because I don't really see the slits when I am in movement. Since I had finished my Lyra dress, I moved on to my next sewing project. Now I know I have a gap in my wardrobe for bottoms, so trousers, skirts, and even dresses, which is where I want to gravitate my wardrobe towards, because I'm a bit tired of wearing bottoms that are very tight, like jeans and things like that. So I am at a stage of my life where I just want to be comfortable. I decided to go ahead and make the Carmel jumpsuit that I spoke to you about last week. Instead of doing it the jumpsuit, I decided to go for a skirt, just simply because it's easier to go to the toilet. I love wearing jumpsuits, but just the gymnastics that I have to do trying to hold all the fabric up from the pants is a mission. So to avoid that, I've decided to make the Carmel as a dress instead of a jumpsuit. So I have pulled this floral fabric that has been in my stash for 2+ years now, and it is a cotton lawn that I got from John Lewis. I had always intended to use the fabric to make a dress, I just didn't exactly know what dress or what style I wanted to use it for. I think I've picked now the perfect pattern because it is quite a busy print and the flowers are quite large. They aren't exactly ditzy, let's say, and I didn't want to cut up all the flowers flowers in a pattern that would require lots of different pattern pieces. So the design elements on the Carmel jumpsuit are pretty simple, especially since I chose to do a skirt as well. For the skirts, I just cut out 2 rectangles, but I used the same measurements at the top of the trousers to get the width of the waist right, which in reality doesn't really matter, because if it's just a gathered skirt, if you cut more, you have more gathers. If you cut less, you have less gathers. But I just used that just as a starting point. The neckline seemed pretty wide to me, and I'd have just enough space to slip it over my head. I wouldn't have to bring it past my hips, and I thought I could get away with no zipper. But I basted the back seam together, I tried it on, and don't get me wrong, I did get it on, but it was just a bit of a tight wiggle in and a tight wiggle out. So I am going to put in a zipper anyway. It calls for a long zipper, and I don't have currently any in my stash, and I want to use up what is in my stash, and I think it's an 8-inch invisible zipper. Unfortunately, the zipper is not a color that is in my project. It is a brown colored zipper, but because only the pull should be on show, I think I can get away with just a little bit of brown sticking out the top. My hair will probably be hiding it anyway, so it shouldn't be a problem. So I have made a Carmel jumpsuit before, and the first one I made was last year June, which I made for my sewing challenge that I host on Instagram, which is Sew Blood Pressure 24, in honor of my dad. The bust dots then were sitting in the right place because I had used a viscose, so it kind of draped more onto my body. This one I'm using is a cotton lawn, so it's kind of a little bit more structured than the viscose fabric. The bust darts are kind of poking out to the side, and they are not directed towards my apex. So I took the bodice along to my Sew and Bond sewing social, which I host once a month, to see if I could get these bust darts right. By the way, if you want to join one of my sewing socials, I will also leave the link in the description box below for you to have a look at some more details. My sewing socials ran for 5.5 hours, and I thought I would have more than enough time to fix my bust dart, but the most that I got done was just unpick the side seams to release the bust darts. That's all I managed to do. This week I need to fix those bust darts before I attach the skirt to the bodice. So I have already now managed to mark the point where I want my bust dart to end, and to have it exactly the same on both sides, I just threaded a needle with some thread, and I poked it through both layers, cut in between the 2 bodices, front and lining, and I tied a knot on either end so that my thread wouldn't come out. And like that, I know that when I turn it inside out, I will have the exact point where I want my bust dart to finish, and then I will just draw a straight line from the original one where it starts just to that point. That's what I've decided to do with this project, because I already have the whole bodice constructed, and I am not going to unpick the whole bodice to do that. I just want to fix the bust darts. And now for my knitted sweater. This is the front bodice complete, and I have the back bodice complete as well. So both my bodices are complete, and what I am doing now is I am crocheting a vertical line across the other horizontal stripes, because as I've mentioned before, I want to make this more of a tartan look sweater. I was unsure, and actually still am unsure, on what colors I should use for these vertical stripes. I don't know if I should use just all red vertical stripes, or if I should play between the red and the cream. I did want to put originally the pink stripes going up, but I feel the pink is not strong enough to stand out, therefore I've chosen red, and then cream, should I add it or not. So I would like your feedback on this, and please leave some comments below if you think I should just do red vertical stripes, or if I should do red and cream, or I don't want to say just cream at this point because I've already started with the red and I don't want to pull that out. So yeah, please let me know just the red, or if I should do red and cream, both of them together. I feel these stripes are going to take me quite a long time to crochet on though, because yesterday this took me about, I don't want to lie, but I think it took me about 20-30 minutes to just do this little bit here. I kept on pulling it out because my tension wasn't exactly right, because I don't normally crochet. I've only ever crocheted one baby blanket for my sister more than a year ago. I don't have my tension right. It was just a bit difficult just to start off with me holding the crochet hook on top, holding yarn underneath that I couldn't exactly see, and trying to loop it through. So I did get my tension right, and that's why I think it took me so long, was just to work on that. I feel this is probably going to take me the whole week to crochet both front and back bodices. So let's see how that goes, and hopefully I will have that done by the end of the week. So those are all the projects I have been working on this week. Other than that, that's it from me today. Bye for now.